One of the more intriguing pieces of lore when analyzing the Romulans during the TNG era is a look at the individuals of the society. They're soldiers, commanders, and civilians, in a culture that indoctrinates them and tells them that the Federation wants to destroy everything that it is to be a Romulan. However, these people aren't just mindless automatons. They aren't idiots. We see a soldier interact with a Starfleet engineer and realize that some Federation people can be trusted. The commanders aren't fools and don't wish to engage in wars that they know will be costly and that they could lose. And the civilians badly want to learn more about other cultures and those that they may be kin to. Indeed, everything that we have observed up to now shows us that it is only the top echelons, the top 2 or 3 in power with a few politicians assisting, that wish to continue this antagonism. I theorize this is largely due to an attempt to stay in power on their side. When you look at it, it also could possibly mean that while the Romulan Star Empire claims to be a republic, the realities show us that it's more a totalitarian state. Unfortunately, the TNG episodes Birthright Part 1 and 2, as well as The Chase, only utilize the Romulans as a backdrop with nothing that adds more to the meta-analysis. Now don't get me wrong, there's a lot to break down in each episode, but not when analyzing Romulan lore from an eagle-eye view. The important piece to take from the episode Birthright Part 1 and 2 is to show how Romulans, even those in the military, are confronted with other cultures and adapt, that they're open to change. In fact, in that episode, we see the commander offer to let those Klingons leave when it's determined that the High Council from the Klingon Empire won't do business with the Romulan Star Empire, that the Klingons won't barter territory for lives. At a personal level, again, even in the military with these soldiers, the Romulans have empathy. In The Chase, after it had been discovered that an ancient civilization, possibly a race that is a predecessor to the Founders, but that's a conversation for another day, had seeded all of the planets of the Alpha Quadrant, proving most all of the races shared an ancestry, a Romulan commander would reach out to Picard, showing a small form of solidarity. And the commander even discusses a day where Romulans and the Federation could interact without hostilities. There was so much potential here. The next time we see the Romulans would be in the episode Timescape, which, before I get into it, let's talk about the beginning of that episode. Riker is amazingly stupid.
Oh, by the way, you'll need this.
In the first 5 minutes of the episode, we see Riker throw a fully charged weapon at Beverly, tossing it to her as a part of a joke on how he wants to kill a cat. And the woman catches the weapon with her finger on the button that could cause it to fire, and it aimed at her stomach. Remember, phasers can actually kill you, and Riker thinks it's a joke to throw one to a doctor. And that's not even getting into why a random phaser is just sitting on a table in sickbay. You know, sickbay, where kids can enter at any time. When Starfleet sends their officers, they are not sending their best. Anyway, that aside, in that episode, the Enterprise D receives a distress call from a Romulan warbird and responds, though the ship goes to red alert just in case it's a trap. While there is a lot to this episode, we're going to be keeping it focused on specific impacts for the analysis with the Romulans specifically. For that end, we're going to jump to the runabout that has some of the crew returning from a symposium. Specifically, the runabout would have Geordi, Data, Troy, and Picard. Ultimately, Picard and company find the Enterprise D frozen in time, apparently in what might be a firefight with a Romulan warbird. They will determine that everyone but them is essentially, as I stated, frozen in time. In order to investigate, they beam aboard the bridge and find what appears to be a firefight with the Romulans seeming to have taken over the bridge. Additionally, they find another firefight in sickbay where it appears that Beverly is about to be killed. However, some things aren't making sense. In the transporter room, Starfleet personnel are assisting Romulans to get off of the warbird. And for whatever reason, a warp core breach is occurring in engineering. The crew would continue to investigate and ultimately be able to determine that an alien species had tried to set up a nest with their young in the engines of the Romulan warbird, which began the issues of the time displacement. Picard and company would be able to restore time and ultimately save the Enterprise, though realizing that all of the Romulans on the Enterprise itself, while it was appearing that they were attempting to take over the ship, were actually assisting the crew. The Romulans on the bridge were actually assisting the Enterprise bridge crew in keeping the ship together. In sickbay, one of the Romulans was attempting to hit the aliens when Beverly accidentally got in the way. And of course, this would ultimately explain why they were transporting hurt Romulans onto the ship. In the end, they save all of the Romulans and even get the aliens back to their time, but here's why I specifically talk about this episode. The crew of the Dex Warbird would be returned home and not interrogated, not treated as enemies. They would be assisted by the Federation and even get to know the crew. Again, when the crew of the Warbird was about to be destroyed, when Romulans were about to die, the Enterprise stepped in to assist them. And then, when aliens attacked the Enterprise, when it looked like the Enterprise was about to be destroyed, the Romulan crew assisted them. Both sides put away whatever problems or gripes they had and came together to try to save everyone. Again, a wonderful arc that didn't get its due. The next two episodes of TNG, named The Pegasus and All Good Things, would have the Romulans there tangentially, but don't expand on the mythos to any large degree. The Pegasus would be a Federation cloak that was created, and while it did show the distrust between Picard and the Romulan commander, we never really see the fallout from the Federation having cloaks. In All Good Things, we see an alternate universe where a Romulan Star Empire is defeated by the Klingons, and the Klingon Empire is at odds with the Federation. We don't know how impactful it was with the Romulans being gone, but we do know that the Federation at this point had cloaking technology. Honestly, I find myself disappointed with the way the Romulans were handled towards the end of The Next Generation. The writers had built up this enemy that, in the end, was just like Starfleet. They showed that the people, that Romulans, weren't just hats, but actual living, breathing characters. People that the Federation could have become allies with. But unfortunately, that wasn't to be. It's really sad because, as of the upload of this video, this is the most in-depth information on the Romulans that we have. Hopefully there will be more to come in Star Trek Picard, but that won't be for a while. Stay tuned as we look to break down the Romulans in Deep Space Nine.